Do you wish you could get virtual attendees to turn their cameras on? Is engagement the number one issue on your virtual meetings? Do you want your meeting to be the most engaging virtual meeting? Well, welcome to the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. In this podcast, we'll talk to the top people around the world in virtual meetings and give you, the listener, the best ideas to host engaging virtual meetings. Make sure that you click subscribe so you can get the latest episode of the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. Now, let's welcome your host, the author of the #1 Amazon hot new release, Engaging Virtual Meetings, John Chen. All right. Good day to all of you. Oh, it's been an early day for me. I've been a virtual MC on the East Coast, a virtual MC for the Georgia Healthcare Association. Really inspiring work, though. They just did their what do they call it? It's called the Stars of Long-Term Care. And today they have an organization that's kind of like Make a Wish, but it's for people on long-term care. And they brought this woman on stage today, right? And now brought the Atlanta Braves mascot, which is Blooper, and the entire drum line. And like they did this entire performance. And then she's like, was one of the biggest Atlanta Braves fan. So they gave her 4 like sweet tickets and she was crying on stage. Oh my gosh. Her pastor Lee was there giving away all this stuff. It was really one of the coolest experiences about, making a difference. And a lot of those, I think a lot of people forget, but my mom worked in long-term care. She worked in a senior citizen center in Stockton, California. And I used to she used to play piano and I used to turn pages inside of there. And that's really a place, some people forget about those places, but I think if you go back there, you'll find some riches and history and stories and other things that you should do. Meanwhile, speaking of history and stories, if you're here, hey, do us a favor. You're on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. Subscribe, hit the subscribe button, share, like, or comment no matter where you're watching this. And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, you can go to engagingvirtualmeetings.online and subscribe on one of any 13 places. Did you know that Apple Podcasts is our #1 location? Spotify is #2. And #3, if you want to, check out, we want to tell you about the Engaging Conference, October 1st through the 3rd, the secrets of how to be engaging. And this is the first year we're going to be hybrid. And I have 3 Hall of Fame speakers that I'm about to announce this month. So make sure and check out what's going on now there. Now, meanwhile, we're trying not to freeze, but this gentleman this gentleman who's coming up, we met through the Open Sesame DEI. He's really done his work in DEI. He has served in multiple companies, Brightpoint, OpFI, or OpFi, if it's correct, Avant as a lone person. And so I'm really excited to bring him on here. In fact, I better get the right walk-on music for him. All right, so let's welcome the one and only Kelly Blackmon. Very nice, Kelly. It's very kind of Rocky-esque, right? It's like, yes.
Right? Hello.
Oh man, cool, Kelly. Tell me how you doing today. What's going on? That's good.
Well, I am great. I'm in Chicago, so it is a balmy 26 degrees versus the sub-zero weather we got over the weekend. So I am doing quite good right now. And thank you for having me on, John. Thanks for the audience. Thank you all for taking a listen.
Outstanding. Yeah, I saw Chicago has a whole bunch of articles. It's happening all across the country. Teslas and other electric vehicles are dying en masse because the electrons are so slow that even people who had a charge, they can't get to there because they're waiting so long. And once they get there, they don't have any charge to go forward. So anyways, it's about that cold, right?
That's right.
Oh my goodness.
That's how you know it's really cold, when it starts to defy the laws of physics.
Well, it'd be really cold is if I wouldn't share you with my friends and I never told them who you are. So Kelly, do us a favor. Tell me who you are and what you do.
Okay, so I'm Kelly Blackmon. I am a DEI consultant. I also work full time as a DEI coordinator. And essentially, what I'm doing with my time is, let's call it a version of trying to save the world. Okay, let's not make it that big. It's a version of trying to help humanize things like DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's kind of gotten a bad name over the last couple of years, and there are a lot of people who are disconnecting from it. In fact, even Elon Musk, who we were talking about with Tesla, has had a lot to say about DEI recently, and some of the missteps and mishaps of it. So one of the things that I'm doing with my time right now is, whether through paid speaking, through free sources, I am really trying to help people understand what is very human and very unique to the human experience about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So my specific program is DEI plus EQ. So it's diversity, equity, inclusion, but it is based in a very human thing, emotional intelligence. So I go around different places around the country, different companies, and I speak to companies about it, and I sell a program for it. So that's the long and short of Kelly life right now.
Fantastic, great work, right? And it's so challenging that for years we were starting to make some progress, and then some great leaders, we're just going backwards again, and it's really challenging. I did see a report though. My friend, I believe it's Lois, has been watching a report and says that the B this year is going to be super important. The
Oh
belonging
yes,
is
yes.
gonna it's I know it's already been here. It's probably here for you, but she says that the B part may hit
I've, I've seen a
mainstream.
lot. Yeah, I've seen a lot of companies actually adopting that. You know, there are probably 20 something. There's probably an endless amount of these acronyms that people are using, but one of the most popular ones right now is DEIB. So
B.
diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Uh, Personally, at my work, we use diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and understanding. And the
Oh,
idea is that what you're really capturing is that human experience. So yeah, I think she's spot on. There is a real surge in the belonging part right now.
well, it's fantastic that you're speaking. Speaking is one of these, I think, equalizers because I mean it gives access to a platform. I'm
Mm.
actually curious, Kelly. Are you? Do you know about National Speakers Association? Are you a member?
I am not a member, but yeah, I definitely have heard of it, but I am not a member. A lot of the speaking I've been doing has been just ad hoc when people need it. A
Yeah,
lot of stuff coming up because of Black History Month and
yeah,
really trying to
good.
bridge gaps there. But I am not a member yet, so I'm glad you brought it up. It's going to be on my to-do list.
Well, I want to give a shout out to Robert Kennedy III. He is currently the president of Black NSA, and Black NSA has been around for a decade, right? I actually just formed API NSA last year, so
Nice, nice.
right, I'd asked Robert Kennedy to kind of school us for an hour and share some of that history over the decades, so maybe we could go
Yeah.
a little faster. But Black NSA is the only affinity group in NSA, or National Speakers Association, that is its own virtual chapter. You can choose to join Black NSA, the virtual chapter. Isn't that amazing?
That is definitely amazing. And honestly, it speaks to what you mentioned, man. We're making a lot of progress with a lot of the inclusive environments.
Yeah.
Uh, Unfortunately, that is also one of the things that are is one of the things that are turning people off too. Because when you start to have these environments that are becoming more inclusive, there are a lot of people who feel like it's making it more exclusive in a lot of ways. So there's still a lot of work to do.
Yeah, my view on the exclusive part, right? Again, I'm going to talk from the API, or Asian Pacific
Yeah,
Islander
yeah,
seat, is like you're trying to reverse hundreds of years of messed upness, right? That's the technical term. So
you're
why don't
right.
you just let us have some, here's a great example, right? Here in Washington State, we have lots of great Native American tribes, and one of them called the Tulalip tribe, like chose to build a beautiful four-star result. And so I heard a great talk from their general counsel, and they say anybody in the tribe who wants a job can have a job, and they can. About 25% are employed outside, and so, and
Mhm.
anyways, what I'm trying to get to is that casino and hotel and all the subsequent businesses are so successful, right? And just let them be successful. Like I said, you're undoing hundreds of years of stuff,
Yeah.
all right? Let them have a turn, for crying out loud.
I agree. I agree. Well, I'll tell you what's really funny about that though. we're like everyone kind of gets the polarization and kind of how some of this stuff gets weaponized and the political parts of it. But if you really break it down to what being human is, in my estimation, it comes down to seven pieces. It
Mm,
comes down to giving people, like, you assuming that everyone has an intrinsic value. It comes down to being emotionally intelligent, like being self-aware and understanding how you show up. It comes down to giving grace, to being patient. It comes down to understanding that all of us are interconnected. All of us have a responsibility for exactly how we show up because we're all interconnected. And in the end, to the idea of you actually have a responsibility to do something good with that. So I think if we're in a lot of ways, and this is some of the stuff I speak on, in a lot of ways, if you're taking a look at it through that lens, it cuts through a lot of the racial parts and the political parts, and it really is about being a human being first.
yeah.
So if on a human level you can say there has been like 365 years of systematic racism committed against the Black community, well, yeah, it may take a little bit longer than 10 years of affirmative action to correct that, and but if it's hard to do that unless you're saying, as a human being, let me give you grace, let me be patient, which is
Mm.
kind of like grace over time, and say, let me help you to get into a place that makes sense for you because ultimately you have intrinsic value. So it's a lot, man, and that makes me really appreciate the work you're doing with the API and everything because a lot of this stuff doesn't get talked about.
Yeah, it just doesn't get talked about. Asian Pacific Islanders kind of unique in that part too. They're like, oh, they're doing fine, right?
Right.
You don't have to worry about them. And some of us are not doing fine. Mental health in API too. Oh
Uh,
my God, this is like such a buried topic that
yes, sir.
I it's just starting to come out. People are starting to get brave enough to talk about it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think that's key. Speaking of the inclusive, well, I do want to give you two pieces. I want to say a shout out to
Yes.
Jeffrey Riley, who's watching us on Facebook. Thank you so much. Feel free to chat along or ask us any questions. The
Thanks, Jay.
second one, I want to give you an invite to on February 1st and 2nd. It's called Black Owned Business Excellence
Oh,
Symposium. This is the fifth one they have. I'm actually the virtual producer, and they
gotcha.
have put together a whole program. Jennifer S. Frank is one of the co-organizers, and I love her quote last year. She goes, right, this program is black, right? It is blackety black, black, black. Right? Every speaker is
Put
black,
it all
right?
in.
Yeah, the organizers are black, and so the panels are black, and it's so great to see that and to be a part of that. I've been
Yeah.
honored to
Yeah.
be invited with that. That which leads me to this. You know, you met me on one of the Open Sesame programs. Shout out to Lisa Wisner, who's amazing on that Open
Yes.
DER
Yes.
Club. And I would love to hear some of the things you saw from that and answer the question, you know, Kelly, what has to happen for you to feel either engaged or included in a virtual meeting, Kelly?
Well, so I know we've talked about this before, John. The way that you showed up, I thought was one, just having all your ducks in a row with what makes it engaging,
Yes.
and it was definitely an engaging. Like, so I jump on a lot of these webinars and I'm like, my expectations are super, super low because I'm like, this is probably going to suck and people are probably going to be boring. And at the end, people are just going to try to sell me stuff. And, but I still try to jump in because there's always something you can learn. I was so caught up. I was so caught off guard. I was like, uh, the way that John engages, like you brought in so many of us, you brought us up on the stage, you had us talking, and it really helped me to engage with other folks in the virtual audience.
Mm.
So for me, one of the things I mentioned to you that day is that when we start a meeting, I'll say something like, uh, like I've had my drugs for the day, you all. I've had my drugs. I've had my Starbucks because, and you know how it's a, it's not a mermaid on that cup, you all. It's a siren, because Starbucks is an evil corporation trying to take over the world. And I remember I forgot what you called it, but it was like this this expected insanity. Well, I can't remember the term you called it, but for me, the way that I engage with people is to come a little bit left field. People will see
Oh,
me and they'll have all of these assumptions. They'll have all of these ways that they assume that I'm going to show up. the topics, the way I'll talk and everything. And then when they get me, it'll be like a little bit of a shock and a little bit of left field. And then because of the fact that I talk probably 70% of what I speak about is love.
Oh,
Um, Love and humanity, because these are like the most foundational pieces of what we are. And I had a conversation with an executive about 2 weeks ago, and I talked to her about the idea of getting buy-in for DEI processes.
mm,
And I was like, here's the thing, we have to start from a foundation of emotional intelligence. And, she's a little bit like clutching her pearls, a little bit like, what is this DEI stuff going to be? When I mentioned emotional intelligence and that we're coming from a place of love and this and that, and she had like a cathartic sort of aha moment, because at that point she was bought in. At that point she was engaged. So I know for me, it's gonna probably sound pretty lame, but I'm really trying to be very, very human and to relate on a very human level. And I think that that's what makes me relatable. I think that's why people engage. Whenever I'm doing, I was doing a video podcast, and I get so much engagement and so much love from this thing because I really do care. I care about what we're talking about. I care about the people. I care about the audience. So I do think that a lot of it for me comes down to that point, just being a very human human.
yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, so many good things inside of here. The first one is that left field. I got a chance to hang around that Tony Robbins guy, right? Big guy with a
Yeah,
T.
yeah.
And they talk about pattern interrupts, and that pattern
Hmm.
interrupts, right, are
Hmm.
so important that, if you take a standard phrase, like give me any standard phrase, like a cliche, especially like a DII cliche phrase.
Oh, uh, Lord, I can't think of one now, but I can think of a sports one. Taking one game at a time.
Oh yeah, yeah, taking one game at the time, right?
Hmm.
So to like go left field, right? Well, it's kind of like taking the entire season at a time or something. You
Uh-huh.
got to do something, right? Or you take like one tire turn at a time if you're a racer, or like so you go one way or the other. But the whole key here is to do something people don't expect. And as soon
Yep.
as you do things that people don't expect, they come back to the screen again. They're going, "What did you just say?"
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so today there was a mascot apparently from the Kansas City Chiefs, and while he was a mascot, he was rehearsing a zip line bungee jump. And
Hmm.
when he made his first jump, the bungee jump snapped, and he fell 75 feet
What?
into the chairs. He spent like 5 or 8 days, he said, in a hospital, and he
Oh,
actually recovered. But that was obviously one of the
man. Yeah.
defining moments, right? And that'll interrupt your pattern, yes, when you drop
It-
from 75 feet.
yes.
But he did
Definitely.
the inverse part here too that I think you talk about. I love that you define DEI with love and humanity, because it is so.
Hmm.
While we want to talk about atrocity and attacks and other
Yeah.
things like that,
Yeah.
and they are out there,
Yep.
it's kind of the thing. It's kind of like when we talk the environment, we talk about how much we're killing the environment.
Yeah.
Even myself, I find myself like going, I don't think I want to be
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
conversation because
Yeah.
I'm probably responsible for a portion of that. Uh, but it gets to this part where that the love and the humanity and what I believe you're saying is your authenticity. We have a saying that your authenticity trumps perfection every single day.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
And how do you access your authenticity? I mean, how do you give yourself permission to talk about what's real to you?
Well, this is probably going to sound also very cliche, but I'm very aware to fear. Like I'm aware of my fear. A lot of this comes back down to the training for emotional intelligence and being very self-aware. I understand, like I'm afraid when I show up, but I'm also aware of the fact that so is everyone else. So when I talk about DEI with someone, there are a lot of studies around the fact that if you're talking about racism, it's like the American boogeyman, because there's so many black folks and brown folks who are ashamed, and there's a measure of shame, and for black men, there's a measure of masculinity that they feel like has been lost. And for white America, there's a lot of shame and there's a lot of guilt and there's a lot of trying to separate from the atrocities of the past and that sort of thing. So this kind of dictates the way that different folks show up when we talk about these things. And I just try to stay very conscious, very aware, very much in that moment when I'm talking to that white middle-aged executive about, some of the stuff that's going on, that they're going to hear me talk about the atrocities, but they're going to hear me also blaming them. So what I do along with that is to say, it's okay. Like, it's supposed to be difficult.
Yeah.
It's gonna show up in a
Right.
way where it's gonna make it tough for you. But that's not where we're at. Like, so allow yourself, give yourself that grace, give yourself that pass and say, all right, that's all in the past. That's my ancestors, whatever. That's what I did yesterday. Today, I get a choice. And to make people aware of that, like to stay conscious of the fear, of the feelings, of the shame, the guilt, and then to say, but right now you have a choice to move forward. And then to showing a picture of what that looks like, it changes the conversation. So we're no longer stuck looking back. Now we're looking forward, and everyone wants to move forward.
I feel like you got a story too, Kelly, of like, you can get a room to change. Like through the process of your training, right? People start here, and if you do great
Yep.
training,
Yep.
they end here. And I don't know, do you have a story of like a crossover point, or like when somebody kind of like when you talk to the CEO and the light came
Yeah.
on? Do you got any
Yeah.
good stories for that?
Look, that was just 2 weeks ago, and that
Mm,
it started off very much in I a very defensive sort of way where and not that I was being a bad person or hounding her or anything like that. Just her natural defenses were up because of all the stuff we talked about, and it was a lot of shame, a lot of I'm starting off asking, excuse me, I'm starting off asking questions. How does this show up for you? How does this work look to you? What are you doing? What have you seen? Blah, blah, blah. And it's a lot of, well, I mean, it's horrible, but I don't know how this looks. And I haven't, and I know I should have done more. I could have done more. And it started from there. And once we moved into,
mm,
moving into the idea of talking about, so here's the thing, we get stuck on these tropes, we get stuck in these ideas because these are the things that are sticking for us. But the reality is that all of this work has nothing to do with any of that stuff from the past. The work has to do with right here, right now, today. What can you do? And she asked a question. Well, and I made the point to her that if you want to move your organization forward, you need to really focus in on making your organization more emotionally intelligent. And she's like, I mean, yeah, like everyone needs that, but I mean, we're not in the business of making people emotionally intelligent. And then I said, but aren't we? And
mm.
she
They'll make more
paused.
money if they are. Like it will come to the bottom
Right?
line,
Yeah,
right?
like all of the metrics say that those people
Yes.
who are more emotionally intelligent are going to show up in a better way, in a more engaged way. And she stopped and she's like, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so embarrassed that we are. Yes. Yes, and it was like she was cheesing from ear to ear. And it was such a beautiful aha moment because what happened in that moment was that she made the connection between now and the future of what we need to be doing versus what I haven't done in the past or what those people have done in the past. And I'll tell you, it's every conversation about this is a journey, but it's beautiful when you can see that payoff. Like that changes so much.
It's true too. I mean, you can spend all your time feeling guilty about the past, but that's really not going to help. Like
Yeah,
the whole, like if you're going to focus or use any energy, right?
yeah,
Use the energy to make today better, your place
yeah,
better. And
yeah.
there's research, there's hardcore research that I've shared in other classes that says companies that are more diverse outperform other
That's
companies
right.
by 20
That's
to
right.
25%. And so there is a bottom line through this whole thing. And I
That's
think
right.
that's ideally the thing that will get executives to buy into it.
See,
Um,
you'd think so, but not so much. Like everyone
yeah,
presents the business case, but that's because no one's really and this is where in the beginning we were talking about the mishaps of DEI and where we kind of fallen short.
yes.
It's because we're trying to find a way to regulate things like emotion and morality without talking about those things. So until you actually address those things, you can say business case, you're gonna have an improvement of 20-25% bottom line, and this is gonna help you. And people will say, I mean, yeah, that sounds great. We'll look at it. We'll look at it. But because the fact that what you're really telling them to do is look internally and start to figure out why you feel crappy right now that we're talking about this, why you feel scared, why you feel in danger, why you feel defensive. And until you address that, it's really, really tough. And I think that over the last year or two, you've seen probably a 50% decline in DEI work and DEI funding.
Oh,
And a
wow.
lot of that is based on that stuff.
Hmm. Well, I get the sense too that you have mastered or at least have really worked on your art of facilitation. And for those who don't know the root of the word, right, facilitation means to make easier, right? And so we're trying to
Mm-hmm.
make change easier. I'm curious,
Mm-hmm.
Kelly, when do you think like you started your work of like facilitation and how did you transfer that to virtual? Because it is possible to get people to change on
Mm-hmm.
virtual.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think you've seen it. I know I have solid evidence and proof. So I'd love to hear, yeah, where did you get that skill and how'd you change it? How'd you adapt it to virtual?
Well, so probably 2008, 2010, started my first company. I was business consulting because I was in school and I was really, really keen on business consulting. So I would go to different companies, like just local places. Hey, let me help you with your marketing plan, this, and that. So presenting became almost second nature. And when I was presenting, I was realizing that I was helping people with their businesses and they still weren't happy or anything. They were still kind of like, well, let me start a new business. Let me do this and that. So I left it. It wasn't really fulfilling me. I did the same thing talking about career transitions, and I would do resumes and LinkedIn profiles for folks and that sort of thing. And I would help someone get like a six-figure job at a big four accounting firm. And 2 years later, they'd be like, I don't like this anymore. Can you help me do this again? And for me, again, the presenting part started to become very natural. You'll notice in my history a lot of sales because
Yeah.
presenting has become very natural, and that's what's led me to really knowing how I show up. So what really changed was obviously during COVID. When no one can go out, no one can do anything anymore. There are all of these forums where people are saying, like, I'm going to all these town halls, and there are black folks and white folks and people all over. They're crying because George Floyd has been murdered, and we're tired of this. And why is this going on? And it really became the platform for me to really like try to help, try to be there for
Mm,
people. And that
mhm.
fulfillment that I was looking for in trying to help people with businesses or trying to help people with their careers really started to pay off because now I was talking about things like, and this is just for my own journey of emotional intelligence and growing, telling people like, no, this isn't about race. This isn't about police brutality. This is about these underlying issues. And as people started to come around, it became my gospel. And for me, as a very, very unique sort of way of getting around to this, and it started to get backed up with a lot of research and that along with my ability to show up as a human being, it's really lent itself to this environment now where most of the stuff I do is virtual.
And so how do you transfer those skills to like have these conversations you need to have on virtual? Do you have either a technique or a tool that you have refined over the last couple of years?
Um, I wouldn't say a technique or a tool, because again, I try to keep it very lowbrow. I try not to, I try to be very human. And I know that that sounds like a little bit of a cop out, but really it's a lot of work because what my own fear says, you're a black male showing up in this place, so sound professional. I have a high school diploma, sound professional. You worked in this field or that field, sound like this, act like that, show up like this or that. And what it really comes down to is being really, really aware of what sparks my own fears and then saying, screw those things. I'm just going to try to show up as a real human being. And what I've gotten is a lot of feedback over the last. I opened my business 4 years ago, and I've gotten so much love throughout social media and everyday IRL, real life. And what I've gotten is a lot of feedback that says, no, this works. This is the thing that works. So I got to tell you, as much as I like to have a tool or a formula, I like to call it being an authentic human being.
Authenticity is a tool. It's the tool that I tell people that you can work on every single day, and no matter who you are, right?
Hmm.
That you can
Hmm.
continue to work on it. And I think the more that you work on it, the more impact that you have. Let's see, the name of your company too, the Butterfly Effect Consulting Company. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yep,
Why'd you
that's it.
why'd you call it Butterfly Effect?
Well, I don't know how many folks have seen the movie with Ashton Kutcher, The Butterfly Effect, but I love the movie. It introduced me to the concept, and I'm a big nerd, so I did a lot of reading about the chaos theory, and I was like, oh my God, if a butterfly flaps his wings here, it can cause something. And it really came down to this very sort of minimalist way of looking at the world. I don't need to be super rich. I don't need to have political power. I don't need to do anything grand to make positive change.
Hmm.
Me speaking with you and the way I'm speaking with you gives you now an opportunity to speak to someone else in a better way. And a quick story about that that led me to this sort of thinking. Uh, I'm on the way to work with my wife. She's dropping me off at work. We're having the worst argument of all time. And we get out the car. She goes her way, I go mine. Later on, I talked to my mother-in-law. She says, "Well, me and your wife, we talk. Me and Tiffany, we talk. She's angry. I'm angry. They got into an argument because, of course, I was right. Keep that part in mind." And what ended up happening was, my mother-in-law ended up snapping on one of her younger kids who goes to school and now is upset. Who gets into a fight at school, gets suspended. The younger kid gets suspended along with the other kid at school, and it made me realize that all of this was at least partially connected to the fight that me and my wife were having. And it's like, oh my God, it's like if you look at it, what's happening is that my world is impacting other people's worlds to the point that there's a schoolmate I've never met before who's now sitting at home, partially in part because of something that I was choosing to do. That part has really helped me to understand that we do have an impact in the world around us. And now it means that I have to be more responsible with it. But the butterfly effect is a real thing. And I try to use it as positively as I can.
Yeah, the words I have for that are what I call the law of reciprocity that I
Yep.
try and tell
Yep.
every presenter, speaker, and instructor, right? If you come in mad, your students get angry, right? If
That's
you
right.
come in sad, they are depressed, right? If you
That's
come
right.
in high energy, they can be high energy. And so that's that
Hmm.
law of reciprocity. And this is where your authenticity also works into your presence. Like, even if you don't say anything, people know you're having a bad day, right?
Yeah.
But we're
Yep.
humans. That's part of what we do.
We pick it
And
up.
that your bad day cloud walks around and like can bum somebody else out without you
Yep.
saying or doing anything.
Yep.
And so that's why I tell people all the time as the number one thing they can do if they're doing virtual presentations or even in-person presentations, right? You got to get yourself into the right state before you
Nice.
get on that stage, right?
Hmm.
Otherwise, if you have trouble on stage, it's usually because you entered that stage somehow
Yep.
or another not in the right state, knocked off balance, right? All sorts of things happen, power went out, who knows? But none of those matter,
Yep.
right? You
Yep.
can control this one thing, which is even if the worst thing happens, you can walk in the best state if you make the choice, right?
Oh man, that's such good stuff. That's such good stuff. It's all a part of my personal philosophy, John. Good stuff.
Well, now I'll share the one they gave today. That guy who is the mascot says his theory is you get a coin every day at the beginning of every day, and your choice is how do you spend that coin
Yep.
right through the day? Do you wait? Do you throw it away? Do you invest it? Do you do something else? So
Yep.
that's kind of on you. All right. Well, you said you're a geek. I would love to hear a little bit about the future. What do you think the future of virtual and hybrid is for you? And do you have a wish about what you wish it could do?
Well, I'll be honest with you. From a business standpoint, my idea is to move more into these e-learning and webinar courses and that sort of thing. So I would really love if for me personally to learn more about how to use all of these different tools because again, right now I feel like my approach is so very it's complicated if you try to explain it, but it's very lowbrow. I just try to show up as me and let that do the talking. but I would love to see more ways for us to kind of interact. Like I love the Kajabis and the what is it, Mentori? I
Mentimeter?
love yeah, Mentimeter. I love the ways that technology are allowing us to interact a bit more, and I would honestly love to see more of that to kind of help along facilitators because I feel like the more you can reproduce the sense of togetherness, the sense of community during any sort of presentation, it's just so much better than being talked to, being lectured at.
Well, I want to share a piece of the future that I actually got to see. Check this out. This thing is called the Proto. And by the way, you are not looking at me. You are looking at a holographic projection of me.
No,
If you look on the left side of the video here where my mouse is, I'm in a studio with a camera behind the box. I'm not actually in this box. So therefore, this has the ability to project me onto a stage anywhere in the world. And Howie Mandel was actually at the place because he's an
yeah.
investor in the company and a spokesperson, and so we got a chance to talk
Oh
about it.
wow.
He loved it because he is a germaphobe, so he's like he can talk to the audience and not be
Yep.
exposed to them,
Yep.
you know. But that's a really cool piece of technology that is there, and I got to experience, and it
Oh,
comes to
that
that
is awesome.
closer. Yeah, right. It comes to that closer dream. Like right now, you know,
Mhm,
Kelly and
mhm.
I are two-dimensional, but what if the two of us, like in two boxes, could sit like across from each other at a
Yeah.
table? We
Yep.
felt like we're having coffee with each other, you know.
Yep.
It's that next level type of thing. That's a piece of
That's
technology. If it ever,
beautiful.
yeah, if it ever becomes affordable, it's going to be amazing. Well, cool. Let's close it out this way, Kelly. You know, if you there's one thing, I have a good guess too, but I'm not sure. If there's one thing that Kelly could get people to remember from this interview, what would that one thing be?
Oh man, I hate to sound hokey, but it's gonna be that we're all human. Like we should really start operating from that point of view. Like take they, them, those out of your vocabulary because everything is we, us.
Yes, I think you'll love this, Kelly. I have a friend and said we stop shooting selfies and we start shooting ussies.
Ussies. Yeah. I like
Two,
that. Yeah.
an ussie is two or more, right? Wait, actually,
Right.
hold on a second. Wait, I might have it here. Give me 1 second. Okay, let's see. I think I can shoot an ussie. All right, let's see. All right, give me a wave. Three, two, one. There you go. That's our ussie.
I like
Oh my
that.
God.
I like that a lot.
Kelly, thank you so much for the time. I look forward to seeing you back online, or maybe somewhere here in the real world if I ever get my warm person to Chicago when it's not freezing. But
Yes.
otherwise, I'll see you on again. Check out Open Sesame's DEI Club. Lisa really puts the great
Yep.
program together. Network with 100 or more other people just like you. Kelly, thanks again for your time.
Thanks so much, John. Thanks so guest. I'm sorry, audience. Y'all have a great one.
Thanks, Kelly. All right, that's cool. This is John Chen here on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast, and you've been listening to Kelly Blackmon, who's just telling you, right, his strategy is love for DEI, and that you should get your EQ in order. All right, speaking of EQ, make sure if you're listening, subscribe, share, like, and comment. If you want to if you want to subscribe, go to engagingvirtualmeetings.online, subscribe. I want to give you a free ticket to my conference. You can go to this website, engagingvirtualmeetings.com/con for conference, October 1st through 3rd. You can get a free virtual pass, or you can also get a Zoom VIP, or for the first time ever, 150 people are going to come in person. Maybe Kelly will think about coming out to Seattle. That'd be so cool. And by the way, if you want to be like Kelly, all right, I bet Kelly once might have said in his lifetime, "Be like Mike." Right now, I'm saying, be like Kelly. If you want to be the next interview, go to engagingvirtualmeetings.com/meet, select interview, and you could be the next person here on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. I'm John Chen, and I want to say thank you. Stay warm, and we'll see you next time. This is John Chen, the author of the Amazon #1 hot new release, Engaging Virtual Meetings. I personally want to say thank you for listening to the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. It is my passion to help you eliminate bad virtual meetings. Make sure that you click subscribe so that you can get the latest episode of the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast with all of the latest ideas. Hey, I want to meet you. If you want to talk about a virtual meeting challenge, or if you want to be the next guest on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast, just go to engagingvirtualmeetings.com/meet. That's engagingvirtualmeetings.com/meet, MEET, and find your best time to meet up. Thank you, and I look forward to engaging with you online.